Hi there, you found the Bible in a Year Live Tanakh Project, and we're going to continue in our readings today from the Complete Jewish Bible. Today, we'll be reading from 1 Samuel chapter 18 to 20, and in this portion of scripture, we find that King Saul's jealousy of David grows after the people praise David more than him, leading to a series of attempts by Saul to kill David through deceit and violence. David and Jonathan forged a strong, loyal friendship, while Saul's conspiracies against David escalate, forcing David to flee. The chapters also highlight David's increasing divine favor and wisdom as he navigates the dangers posed by the king, ultimately leading to his temporary escape from Saul. Let's dive in. 1 Samuel chapter 18. By the time David had finished speaking to Shaul, Jonathan found himself inwardly drawn by David's character, so that David loved him as he did himself. That day, Shaul took David into his service and would not let him go home to his father's house any more. Jonathan made a covenant with David because he loved him as he did himself. Jonathan removed the cloak he was wearing and gave it to David, his armor too, including his sword, bow, and belt. David would go out, and no matter where Shaul sent him, he was successful. Shaul put him in charge of the fighting men. All the people thought it good, and so did Shaul's servants. As David and the others were returning from the slaughter of the Philistines, the women came out of all the cities of Israel to meet King Shaul, singing and dancing joyfully with tambourines and three-stringed instruments. In their merrymaking, the women sang, "Shaul has killed his thousands, and David his tens of thousands." Shaul became very angry because this song displeased him. He said, "They give David credit for tens of thousands, but me they give credit for only thousands. Now all he lacks is the kingdom." From that day on, Shaul viewed David with suspicion. The following day, an evil spirit from God came powerfully over Shaul, so that he fell into a frenzy in the house. David was there playing his lyre as on other occasions. This time, Shaul had his spear in his hand, and he threw the spear, thinking, "I will pin David to the wall." But David dodged out of the way twice. Shaul became afraid of David because Adonai was with him and had left Shaul. Therefore, Shaul put him at a distance from himself by making him commander over 1,000. His goings and comings became public knowledge. David had great success in all his ways. Adonai was with him. When Shaul saw how very successful he was, he became afraid of him. But all Israel and Judah loved David because they knew about all his campaigns. Shaul said to David, "Here is my older daughter Merav. I will give her to you as your wife. Only continue displaying your courage for me and fight Adonai's battles." Shaul was thinking, "I don't dare touch him, so let the Philistine do away with him." David's response to Shaul was, "Who am I that I should become the king's son-in-law? I don't have any kind of a life, and my father's family has no rank in Israel." However, when it was time for Merav, Shaul's daughter, to be given to David, she was given to Adriel, the Mecholathite, as his wife. But Michal, Shaul's daughter, fell in love with David. They told Shaul, and it pleased him. Shaul said, "I'll give her to him so that she can entrap him, and the Philistine can do away with him." So Shaul said to David, "Today you will become my son-in-law through my second daughter." Shaul ordered his servants to speak privately with David and say, "Look, the king is pleased with you, and all his servants like you, so become the king's son-in-law." Shaul's servants said this to David, but David replied, "Do you think that being the king's son-in-law is something to be treated so casually, given that I'm a poor man without social standing?" Shaul's servants reported back to him what David had responded. Shaul said, "Here's what you are to say to David. The king doesn't want any dowry. He wants 100 foreskins of the Philistine so that he can have vengeance on the king's enemies." For Shaul was hoping to have David killed by the Philistine. When his servant said these words to David, it pleased David to become the king's son-in-law. Even before the time for him to be married, David got up and set out, he and his men, and killed 200 men of the Philistine. He brought their foreskins and gave all of them to the king in order to become the king's son-in-law. Then Shaul gave him Michal, his daughter, as his wife. Shaul saw and understood that Adonai was with David, and that Michal, Shaul's daughter, loved him. This only made Shaul more afraid of David, so that Shaul became David's enemy for the rest of his life. The leaders of the Philistines would attack, but whenever they attacked, David was more successful than any of Shaul's servants, so that David acquired a great reputation. Shaul told Jonathan his son and all his servants that they should have David killed. But because Jonathan was very fond of David, he told him, "My father Shaul is out to have you killed. Therefore, you must be very cautious tomorrow morning. Find a well-concealed place to hide in. I will go out and stand next to my father in the countryside where you're hiding. I will talk with my father about you, and if I learn anything, I'll tell you." Jonathan spoke well of David to Shaul his father and said to him, "The king shouldn't sin against his servant David, because he hasn't sinned against you. On the contrary, his work for you has been very good indeed. He put his life in his hands to attack the Philistine, and Adonai accomplished a great victory for all Israel. You yourself saw it, and you were happy about it. So why do you want to sin against innocent blood by killing David without any reason?" Shaul heeded Jonathan's advice and swore, "As Adonai lives, he will not be put to death." Jonathan called David and told him all these things. Then Jonathan brought David to Shaul to be in attendance on the king as before. War broke out again, and David went and fought the Philistine. He defeated them with a great slaughter, and they fled before him. Then an evil spirit from Adonai came upon Shaul as he sat in his house with his spear in his hand. David was playing his lyre when Shaul tried to pin David to the wall with the spear, but he dodged it and moved out of Shaul's way so that the spear stuck in the wall. David fled, so that night he escaped. But Shaul sent messengers to David's house to watch for him and kill him in the morning. Michal, David's wife, told him, "If you don't save your life tonight, tomorrow you'll be dead." So Michal let David down through the window, and he left, fled, and escaped. Michal took the household idol, laid it on the bed, put a goat's hair quilt at its head, and covered it with a cloth. When Shaul sent messengers to capture David, she said, "He is ill." Shaul sent the messengers to see David with the order, "Bring him to me, bed and all, so that I can kill him." But when the messengers entered, there before them was a household idol in the bed, with a goat's hair quilt at its head. Shaul asked Michal, "Why did you deceive me this way and let my enemy go and escape?" Michal answered Shaul, "He threatened me. Let me go or I'll kill you." David fled and escaped, then came to Shemuel in Ramah and told him everything Shaul had done to him. So he and Shemuel went and stayed in the prophet's dormitory. The news reached Shaul that David had been seen at the prophet's dormitory in Ramah. Shaul sent messengers to capture David. But when they saw the group of prophets prophesying, with Shemuel standing and leading them, the Spirit of God fell on Shaul's messengers, and they too began prophesying. When Shaul was told, he sent other messengers, but they too began prophesying. Shaul sent messengers a third time, and they also prophesied. Then he himself went to Ramah. When he arrived at the big cistern in Sheku, he asked, "Where are Shemuel and David?" Someone answered, "They're at the prophet's dormitory in Ramah." While on his way to the prophet's dormitory in Ramah, the Spirit of God fell on him too, and he went on prophesying until he arrived at the prophet's dormitory in Ramah. He also stripped off his clothes, prophesied in Shemuel's presence, and lay there naked all that day and all that night. Hence, it continues to be an expression. Is Shaul a prophet too? Chapter 20. David fled from the prophet's dormitory in Ramah, returned to Jonathan and said, "What have I done? Where have I gone wrong? What sin have I committed that makes your father want to take my life?" Jonathan replied, "Heaven forbid! You're not going to die. Look, my father does nothing important or unimportant without telling me first, so why would my father hide this from me? It just won't happen." In response, David swore, "Your father knows very well that you have made me your friend. This is why he will say, 'Jonathan must not know this, or he will be unhappy.' As truly as Adonai lives, and as truly as you are alive, there is only a step between me and death. Yehonatan said to David, anything you want me to do for you, I'll do. David answered Yehonatan, look, tomorrow is Rosh Chodesh, and I ought to be dining with the king. Instead, let me go and hide myself in the countryside until evening of the third day. If your father misses me at all, say, David begged me to let him hurry to Biayl.Lechem, his city, because it's the annual sacrifice there for his whole family. If he says, very good, then your servant will be all right. But if he gets angry, you will know that he has planned something bad. Therefore, show kindness to your servant, for you bound yourself to your servant by a covenant before Adonai. But if I have done something wrong, kill me yourself. Why turn me over to your father? Yehonatan said, heaven forbid. If I ever were to learn that my father had definitely decided to do you harm, wouldn't I tell you? Then David asked Yehonatan, who will tell me in the event your father gives you a harsh answer? Yehonatan said to David, come, let's go out in the countryside. They went out, both of them, to the countryside. Yehonatan said to David, Adonai, the God of Israel, is witness. After I have sounded out my father about this time tomorrow or the third day, then if things look good for David, I will send and let you know. But if my father intends to do you harm, may Adonai do as much and more to me if I don't let you know and send you away, so that you can go in peace. And may Adonai be with you, just as he used to be with my father. However, you are to show me Adonai's kindness, not only while I am alive, so that I do not die, but also after Adonai has eliminated every one of David's enemies from the face of the earth. You are to continue showing kindness to my family forever. Thus, Yehonatan made a covenant with the family of David, adding, may Adonai seek its fulfillment even through David's enemies. Yehonatan had David swear it again, because of the love he had for him. He loved him as he loved himself. Yehonatan said to him, tomorrow is Rosh Chodesh, and you will be missed, because your seat will be empty. The third day, hide yourself well in the same place as you did before. Stay by the departure stone. I will shoot 3 arrows to one side, as if I were shooting a target. Then I will send my boy to recover them. If I tell the boy, they're here on this side of you, take them. Then come. It means that everything is peaceful for you. As Adonai lives, there is nothing wrong. But if I tell the boy, the arrows are out there beyond you, then get going, because Adonai is sending you away. As for the matter we discussed earlier, Adonai is between you and me forever. So David hid himself in the countryside. When Rosh Chodesh came, the king sat down to eat his meal. The king sat at his usual place by the wall. Yehonatan stood up, and Abner sat next to Shaul, but David's place was empty. However, Shaul didn't say anything that day, because he thought, something has happened to him. He is unclean. Yes, that's it. He isn't clean. The day after Rosh Chodesh, the second day, David's place was empty, and Shaul said to Yehonatan, his son, why hasn't Yishai's son come to the meal, either yesterday or today? Yehonatan answered Shaul, David begged me to let him go to Biayl.Lechem. He said, please let me go, because our family has a sacrifice in the city, and my brother demanded that I come. So now, if you look on me favorably, please let me get away and see my brothers. That's why he hasn't come to the king's table. At that, Shaul flew into a rage at Yehonatan and said, you crooked rebel! Don't I know that you've made the son of Yishai your best friend? You don't care that you're shaming yourself and dishonoring your mother, do you? Because as long as the son of Yishai lives on this earth, neither you nor your kingdom will be secure. Now send and bring him here to me. He deserves to die. Yehonatan answered Shaul his father, why should he be put to death? What has he done? But Shaul threw his spear at him, aiming to kill. Yehonatan could no longer doubt that his father was determined to put David to death. Yehonatan got up from the table in a fury, and he ate no food the second day of the month, both because he was upset over David and because his father had put him to shame. The next morning, Yehonatan went out into the country at the time he had arranged with David, taking with him a young boy. He told the boy, now run and find the arrows I'm about to shoot. As the boy ran, he shot an arrow beyond him. When the boy reached the place where the arrow was that Yehonatan had shot, Yehonatan shouted at the boy, isn't the arrow beyond you? Yohanatan continued shouting after the boy, "Quick, hurry, don't stand there." Yohanatan's boy gathered the arrows and returned to his master. But the boy didn't understand anything about the matter. Only Yohanatan and David understood. Yohanatan gave his weapons to his boy and said to him, "Go, carry them to the city." As soon as the boy had gone, David got up from a place south of the stone, fell face down on the ground, and prostrated himself 3 times. And they kissed one another and wept each with the other until it became too much for David. Yohanatan said to David, "Go in peace, because we have sworn, both of us, in the name of Adonai, that Adonai will be between me and you, and between my descendants and yours forever." This is a word of the Lord. Amen. Thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you again tomorrow, where we'll pick up back our story. Blessings.